So, you're in the market for buying a new AI tool, but are you asking the right questions? Somewhere in your industry, a company is 6 months into an expensive AI deployment and getting almost nothing back. They bought it to add AI. But what they have now is the spend, the pressure to prove AI adoption, and no real impact on the business. They didn't buy a bad tool, they asked the wrong question. I'm Bijou, and I'm the AI Principal Analyst at G2. I build the frameworks we use to categorize the AI software market, the map that buyers like yourself rely on to make smart buying decisions. So I spend most of my days working through a single question. What does each of these tools actually do, and where are they creating value? The Smart Software Buyer Series is dedicated to putting that lens on your next decision. So today, let's talk about what separates an AI purchase that drives value from one that just simply adds cost, and how the buyers getting this right are thinking about the problem different, about outcomes. To actually know what kind of AI you're buying, a copilot, a platform, or an agent, let's start with the landscape. AI software generally shows up in 3 different forms, and they are not interchangeable. First, there are copilots. These sit on top of your tools you already use. Think writing assistants, meeting summarizers, or AI features that help you move faster inside an existing workflow. Then there are platforms. These are broader systems where AI is not just an add-on. It is a part of the core engine powering the experience, the workflow, or the decision-making layer. And then there are agents. Agents do not just assist, they act. They can make decisions, trigger processes, and operate across systems with more autonomy. 3 forms, 3 very different buying decisions. That is where outcome gets blurry. And a tool may produce impressive outputs in a demo, but if you're not clear on what kind of AI system you are buying, it becomes much harder to measure success down the road. Traditional software follows instructions. AI makes judgments. That changes how buyers, like you, need to evaluate it. You have to know how the tool behaves when an input is unclear, when the answer is low confidence, or when the system runs into a situation it was not designed for. So let's talk about what evaluating AI tools actually looks like. 4 questions, not a 50-point rubric. 4 questions every smart buyer should ask and assess before committing to any AI tool. The first one is, what problem does this tool claim to solve? And is that problem what we are currently having? Before you evaluate vendors, you have to ask, where is the work actually getting stuck? Is it creation, review, approval, risk management, handoff? And then you need to pressure test that definition with the people who live the workflow every day. The second question is, how does this embed into what you already run? The tool that doesn't integrate into the way people already work doesn't feel like a tool. It feels like another step and another process. That's especially important with AI. Buyers need to understand what systems the tool connects to. That's integration. What data can it access? What happens to that data inside the system? And how are employees actually going to use it day to day? Because most tools don't fail loudly. They don't always break, crash, or create an obvious problem. More often, they quietly drift to the margins. The third question is, what does this tool do when it's wrong? Because it will be wrong. It's part of how these models work. They can produce answers that sound confident, but are incomplete, outdated, or incorrect. So you as a buyer should not only ask, how accurate is this? You should also ask, what happens when it's wrong? Does the tool surface uncertainty? Does it flag low confidence outputs? Does it show sources? Can you audit the decision or understand how the answer was produced? Opacity is the red flag. If the system hides how it works, hides its sources, or presents every answer with the same level of confidence, that creates risk, not only for you and your organization, but those you're also supposed to support. And the fourth question, who owns this once it's live? Not just who uses it, who maintains it. AI tools are not set it and forget it software. They're integrated, they're in your environment. They need ongoing oversight. That's the human on the loop. Someone has to monitor the outputs, catch when quality starts to drift, update prompts and instructions, manage integrations, review escalations, and make sure the tool is still aligned with the business and your goals, where you want to go, how you want to move forward. That ownership needs to be very clear before the purchase even happens. Because once the tool is live, everyone owns it. So before you buy, name that owner. If you can't point to that person or team responsible for keeping that AI tool useful, accurate, and safe, then you're probably not ready to buy. In a marketplace, you need a framework. The harder problem is finding signal in a market this loud. The buyers who do this well don't take vendors at their word. AI-powered is doing the work cloud-based did a decade ago. It signals modernity and tells you nothing about capability. What you want is specificity. In the use case, in the integration, in the stated limitations, review platforms, G2 among them, earn their place here. And not as a final box to check, you use them as intelligence layers throughout your evaluation process. The most valuable reviews aren't the 5-star ones. They're actually the 3-star ones that name the friction precisely. Works for X, breaks at Y. That's a signal. And it helps you understand where the product performs, where it struggles, and what questions they need to bring back to the vendor before making a decision. Then there are the red flags. A vendor who cannot clearly explain what the model does when it's uncertain. A tool with no audit trail, a vendor who talks about the logos and the license counts, but cannot show real adoption or usage data from customers like you. And look closely at the reviews. If the product has no reviews from your industry, or if the vendor has not responded to the critical ones, that is worth paying attention to. Any one of these issues might be manageable on their own. But when you see more than 2 together, it starts to become a pattern. And in AI procurement, patterns tell you more than promises do. Here's what I'll leave you with. The pressure to move fast on AI is real. I feel it, and every leader I talk to feels it too. But speed without strategy gets expensive fast. So my question to you is the one that actually matters most. What problems are you actually trying to solve? And if you do not have that clean answer yet, that's okay. That is what this series is for. In our next episodes, we'll talk more about things like AI tool maturity, how to tell the difference between a point solution and a genuine platform, what the G2 grid actually tells you, and where smart buyers diverge when they compare. If there's a question you want us to take on, leave it in the comments and hit subscribe so you can learn more as you become a smarter software buyer. For more resources, check out the description below. So I'll see you soon in the next episode.